Wanderlust. My friends, I'm here to give you my early impressions of the Thousand Year Door remake. I streamed the whole first chapter of the game, had a whole lot of fun. I'm going to continue streaming the series, so go check that out. If you want to see me playing the game, I'm doing it on YouTube. And now that I've played the game for myself, it is time to talk about it. So let's start with the visuals. That's always the obvious place to start. I've been really looking forward to getting my hands on this game, because there's only so much that you can glean from trailers and stuff. You know, like, for one, it's just like the weird artifacting that you get when you upload to YouTube. It's really annoying. Seeing it, like, actually running on your system is always different, and you can, you know, take it slow and just take in all of the visuals without it being, you know, rushed through a whole bunch of different clips all cut together. And I will say, seeing it in person, being able to really take it in, it is everything as beautiful as I could have wanted. It's marvelous. It's glorious. I really do hope that we get some like next gen patches or something, you know, playing on the next system. I really do want to see it at a higher resolution. I'm getting tired of seeing these Nintendo games that are so beautiful, but man, they're just a bit fuzzy, aren't they? There's just the edges are just that jaggy. I just, ooh, you're almost there. You're almost there. You've almost given us this perfect image. It's so close. But that aside, the visuals are gorgeous. Everything has this shine to it, this sheen. Reflections are everywhere. The lighting is beautiful. And I know that this was a big sacrifice. I know that the game runs at 30 FPS, probably largely because of the lighting and the reflections. And personally, I think it was a fine sacrifice to make, because it just, oh my gosh, it just makes the game feel so vivid and alive. It's just beautiful. It's this extra visual element that kind of makes the game pop at all times. Kind of no matter what you're looking at, when you add in those extra effects and that extra lighting, I don't know, it imbues the entire experience with a level of beauty that I just didn't expect. But it's even more than that too. There's a lot more. I did not even realize it, but most of the characters have been given like extra expressions, and like they're pretty subtle. It's the kind of thing where you're playing and you're looking at the characters and you're like, is that new? Like, you're never like quite sure. Did that character make that face in the original? Because they fit so well. But yeah, I'm seeing loads and loads of just new expressions for basically any character or NPC. They've just got extra stuff that they do, and it makes the game, it gives the game that much more character. I mean, you know, these are little Paper Mario sprites. They're not exceptionally expressive, and yet these extra expressions, it gives them that much more, and it doesn't compromise the inherent simplicity of these sprites. I wouldn't want them to be too expressive, because the simplicity is kind of what makes them so cute, you know? Little button eyes and things like that. Like, I do like that. It's just that little bit more. That little bit extra. And then there's other even more subtle stuff, like the way that the character models move. There's just so many more teeny tiny little elements that move independently and that are kind of, you know, they're not all stacked together into one single layer. Like, there are more separate layers now, and yeah, they can move kind of independently and animate on their own, and it's subtle. It's so subtle. And it's another thing that, like, you can't really tell from the trailers when you're seeing it all go by so fast. And it's another thing you have to get the game in front of you to really appreciate. And when you get to really look at it, you're just like, oh man, it really hits home just how good it looks. And then throughout the experience, there are other just single individual little things, little tiny flourishes, you know, even just for specific sequences. They'll just animate some little thing a little bit more. You know, it was a little bit simpler in the original, and like it's the kind of stuff you're probably not even gonna notice, especially if you've only played the original game like once a long time ago. Like, unless you've played the game again and again and again, you probably won't even notice. But then when you hold them side by side, you're seeing, wow, they really thought to add in so many little details. These thoughtful little changes that they did not need to make. They didn't need to add all of this stuff, but when they wanted to modernize the game, they wanted it to look like a modern game. They wanted it to look like a modern Paper Mario game, and they've done such a good job of accomplishing that, while somehow still, again, not compromising the original. It doesn't look like a completely new game, but it doesn't look like an old game either. It's crazy how they've accomplished this. Amazing how they've managed to pull off such a perfect balance. And then of course there are the more mechanical changes. You've got quality of life features, and there's no one single really big quality of life change. It's really a lot of little stuff, and it's almost not even worth pointing them out because they're so tiny. But there are so many of them, and they really do make the game a lot more smooth. Some of the stuff I noticed was you can hold 15 items now instead of 10, which is really, really great. And you could argue that that makes the game even easier because, you know, items kind of make the game easy by themselves. So holding more items means more easy, but at the same time, if you want to make the game harder, you're going to have to limit your item use anyway. And this way, you kind of mitigate that frustration that you feel when you're picking up items and you're constantly having to throw them away. It's just annoying. I like having the bigger inventory. And then they added the ability to use an item from your inventory instead of having to drop it. Like if your inventory's full and you pick up an item, you used to have to drop one and then eat one and then pick up the other one. Now you can just use it right away. It's a small thing, but I like it. And yeah, there's other stuff too. There's the partner wheel, which I actually don't get. I don't get it. It doesn't actually save very many button presses at all. So I don't get that one. Whatever. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in the full review. But yeah, just lots of little tiny things. A lot of it comes down to just like the info that's shown on screen during combat and that kind of stuff. I will say, there's no button mapping, and that annoys me. I don't like any game that forces me to jump with A and use my item with B. I want B to be jump because it's the button on the bottom, and I'm very, very annoyed that there's no way to change it. I know I could just use the button swapping on the Switch itself. I don't like to do that. I just want to do it in the game. Anyway, whatever. Small detail. You know, one thing that I feel like is pretty different, and it's hard to tell exactly because I haven't played the original game in a good few years now, but like there's this whole thing where enemies will hold items and they can like use them in battle, and I feel like they do it a lot more. I feel like it is so much more common now for enemies to be holding items. And then apparently in the original, I guess I just like forgot this, or like it doesn't happen enough for me to have like noticed it or remembered it, but enemies can also hold badges, and they get the badges effect in combat, which I think is incredibly clever. And just like all of these, they just happen so much more. And I like that because it's a really interesting idea, and it means that any given battle, you know, you fight 3 Goombas in this case, and then you fight 3 Goombas over here, but you give one of them an item and suddenly you've changed it. Now it's like, oh, you got to take that one out first or else he's going to use that item on you. Or if he's got a badge, then that affects, you know, like when I was streaming, one of them had a lucky badge, and so I missed like a bunch of attacks again. Like it's a very cool idea. So if it is true that they've increased the frequency of this, I think that's a fantastic choice. And so far, all of the charm of the original is completely intact. The writing is all still really good. And I know I'm seeing here and there little examples that people are giving of things that have been changed. And like, sure, they've kind of toned down some certain stuff. I'm not a big stickler for like, it's got to be like the original translation, because I mean, I could go into a whole thing, but like the original translation does not have to be the set in stone, perfect, immortal version of the game. They localized it once. Turn back the clock and have them localize it again with a slightly different team, and you'll get a different localization. There's no reason why these things can't shift over time. And so far, everything noticeable that I've seen has been like, if anything, if the writing is different at all, to me, it's just better. To me, it's sharper. It's just better written. You get fewer of those like localization anomalies where little bits here and there are just like a little bit awkward or a little bit strange, or they don't quite land. Like, no, everything it's been tightened up, it's been sharpened, and none of the style and personality in the writing or the comedy or anything has been diminished whatsoever. And on that note, the writing, the characters, everything, it is just as good as I remembered. Thousand Year Door fans have spent a lot of time hyping up this game, and you can't help but wonder, is it that good though? Is it really that good? But playing it again, it absolutely is. It really genuinely is. The characters and the writing and the different sequences, just like the little gags that they put in there, even just right at the start of the game, there are some ridiculous gags. They're so just like gimmicky and silly and fun. Thousand Year Door, one of the reasons it's amazing is because it is just so unabashedly weird. It is just so strange. It is so unlike any other Mario game ever. And Nintendo has not diminished that in the slightest. It is clear, even just from playing one chapter, it's all here. It is absolutely all here. Again, apart from some little softenings of certain types of jokes, I guess, but for the most part, 99.99% of it is here. The character, the charm, the pure funny, the creativity, it's all here, and it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I've only played one chapter, and yet I'm just falling in love with the game all over again, having a really great time. It's been really, really fun playing with other people, having chat there. We've been having a blast. So I hope that you join me as I continue to stream it, because Thousand Year Door, good. And those are my first impressions of the Thousand Year Door remake. It's good. That's it. That's the thing. That's the impression. It's super good. It's super duper good. Thank you for watching. If this is your first time playing Thousand Year Door, please let us know down in the comments. Give us your thoughts. Is it living up to the hype? Are you learning that we were full of it and it was totally overhyped? Or is it genuinely everything that we said that it was? Please let us know your thoughts. You are wonderful, and I will catch you later.